Alright, so today, with the Civic build, today's update is pretty much going to be I spent about $250 on a new jack so I could get my mounts hung up in the engine bay. I've got the EG subframe in there. Everything's mounted up. I'll probably get a video up there of the engine bay pretty soon. For now, since I've hit the milestone of having the engine posted in the bay, I'm gonna go ahead and start planning out the fuel system. And on top of that, I figure it makes sense to go ahead and explain how the fuel system works. Okay, so you're gonna start at the tank right here, right? Tank is holding your fuel. And pretty much the fuel system starts at the tank and it ends at the fuel injectors. From the fuel injector, pretty much the injectors get a electric pulse, pretty much giving it the signal to open up. And then the term I'm going to use is atomize, and that pretty much means shoots out a mist, so you get that air fuel mixture, and that's pretty much what gets compressed and gives you your combustion in the ignition sequence is what we're gonna call it. Okay. Let's go yellow. So these are gonna squirt out a nice little mist of fuel. Okay. So from there, we're gonna go back to the tank. Inside the fuel tank, that's where you're gonna find your fuel pump, right? Fuel pump. I'm just gonna, call that the pump, sure. Whatever. So here's my pump right here. This is out of the 97 Civic. It's got a sock here for a filter. It's gonna suck that fuel in through here. And then you got the lines, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna say this is the one that gets fuel pumped out of it, and then you have one that returns. The 97 Civic hatchback and all the other the EK Civics. Pretty sure the Integra and the EG Civics from the 90s, those have return systems. If not, whatever, not too important. So what I will say is not every car has return fueling. The K series vehicles, they do not have return fuel systems. They are returnless. So first, I'm gonna give that example of what a returnless fuel system looks like. Right now I'm drawing the lines out. Okay, so coming from the pump, okay, through the lines, depending on the system, you might start with the pump to a fuel pressure regulator. Okay. There's many ways to set up a fuel system, right? So from there we go from the pump, then we go to the fuel filter. I'm gonna give you the setup in my Civic just because that's what we're working with here. And why not keep it relevant? Okay, so right here we got fuel filter. And pretty much what this does is it's a secondary filter that's gonna get any contaminants out of your fuel. It's important that fuel is clean, there's no debris in the system, otherwise bad things could happen. Now from the filter, pretty much it goes there to the rail to the injectors. Now as far as customization, modification, such as a K-swap, you're going to throw in a fuel pressure regulator. This swap specifically, I'm going to use this fuel pressure regulator right here. And that's pretty much going to do what it says. It's going to regulate the fuel pressure. It's going to make sure that we have enough pressure to keep the engine running, to make power. Not enough pressure, what would happen? Not enough pressure, you're not gonna have a good mixture of air and fuel. You're gonna be running lean, right? On the opposite side, if you have too much fuel pressure, you're gonna run rich, and from what I assume, you'd probably end up blowing your motor eventually. I don't think it's healthy to run, a lot of fuel through there. I'm pretty sure there's a maximum amount that you want going through. From what I know, that is about 40 to 50, maybe 60. I have to do some research to figure out what I really want to run with mine. So what we have now is fuel tank going to the fuel pump line, and then we have our fuel filter, and we're going to come down to the fuel pressure regulator, which is going to go to the rail, injectors. The injectors, I'm going to use the word atomize again. Pretty much that's just, imagine you sneeze, right? And that little mist of, right? Think about the injectors like that, they're sneezing. So this right here is returnless, a returnless system. Now, simply, to keep things very simple, a return style system is going to be something like this, except we can go, well, for the sake of simplicity, I want to send it this way, but we've got the regulator here. So let's say another line comes out of here and it sends the excess fuel right there back into the fuel tank. Now that's one way it could go, or it could go like this. And I think I did a pretty good job of explaining that. If I didn't, if you think it sucked, if you think I was wrong, feel free to leave a comment and correct whatever you think needs to be corrected. I'm going to move on to the way I want to set this up. So here we got my fuel rail. This is how I'm going to try and set it up for the Civic. And it's going to be looking pretty basic, similar to how I've seen a lot of guys do it on YouTube. I'm all for being different, but when it comes to something like this, man, I'd rather keep it simple. So let's assume that I go with the stock fuel rail, right? Which, if you know what it looks like, you know what it looks like. It's like this. It's got an exit port right here. Well, not an exit port. It's a one-way fuel system. So we got our fuel tank right here. All right. Let's say the pump's right there. Pump's gonna send out to the fuel filter. Bang. And damn, I'm drawing a bit of a blank. Fix it. Okay. Don't want to think too much. So it's boom, boom, right here, and this ends up going here, and pretty much our excess runs to the tank. Pretty simple. So fuel tank to the fuel pump, fuel filter, bring that through here. That's going to come through the regulator, make sure we're having even pressure. It's going to go to the injectors, fuel rail, exhaust chamber. You can't tell, I'm tired, but I'm giving a pretty concise explanation of how this works here. And then the excess is going to go back to the tank. Very simple. And by the time I get up tomorrow and get to work, man, I should be able to put this together and get it in working condition. And I might as well, since I have the time, go ahead and show another example here. So let's do the tank a little bit smaller right here. That's the tank, the rail, injectors. Let's go with a tiny little regulator here. Yeah. Okay. Boom. There's my filter. Now in this example, I can go into the rail like that. This is similar to the aftermarket rail that I have, right? It allows you to put fuel in this way, right? And then it goes into the rail, and from there you can send it, honestly, back. And go like that. So in this case, we got fuel pump from the tank to the fuel filter, straight to the rail. Okay, that's gonna do its thing. Squirt the fuel out, and then pretty much the excess would be going back to the regulator, back into the tank. I'll do one more example. This one's gonna be a returnless fuel system. Okay, so we got the tank here. We got, put the pump there, send that to the fuel filter. All right. Put a rail here, and let's say we have our regulator right here. Okay. This one is gonna be like as simple as can be. Boom, boom, rail, hachu. Okay. So from the tank to the filter to the regulator,